Hey, welcome to the next episode of Compliance After Hours. I'm your host, Josh Matheney, CEO over here at Smart Training. I'm really excited to have with me today our Director of Healthcare Compliance, David Wornica. Not only does he have over 15 years of clinical background, he also has been with us for several years and used our program for several years before that. And so he is our compliance guru. If he doesn't know it, it's because it hasn't been created yet.
Well, flattery will get you everywhere. I'm really happy to finally have coaxed you into this padded room. I didn't know it would be this quick to get in here, but here we are.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. We've talked a lot about what are some of the things we've seen in our inspections here lately. And some of these numbers that you talked about when it came to Eyewash stations is just fascinating. So what are we going to get into today?
Well, you know, something I really wanted to share, and this has come up in so many inspections like you'd mentioned. We've done maybe 500 thus far this year, which is quite a bit. So we've had a good sampling between general dentistry offices, oral surgery, periodontal, you name it, we've been in it. What we're finding consistently is eyewash stations. These eyewash stations, there's a number of things we look for and that have to be compliant. And what we're finding is the numbers are just amazing. I'm gonna hit them real quick with you here. Now, I've got them written down because there's no way I could possibly remember this. 22 out of 500 inspections, we've had 422 instances where there's been a non-compliant issue. Now, the issues could be something like maybe we're not testing the eyewash station weekly, maybe it's missing the caps, maybe when you test it, scalding water's coming out of there and people are running for the hills. You don't need that. So that's what we're bumping into with these.
With the testing in particular, that one just kind of fascinates me. If you have it in place, how many of these people are not even testing it?
Most people don't even know how to work the dang thing is what I'm finding. A lot of folks will tell me, you know, I put on my rain jacket and my galoshes and a hat before I turn that on because I'm not sure what it's going to do. That's a problem in general. But I would say the folks that do know how to use it, do know where it is, they don't know how to operate it. And that's one issue that we bump into quite a bit. Or maybe, and this is what really scares me, they say, we have one, but I don't know where it is in the office. It's somewhere.
Well, and if they don't know where it is, like that's one thing, but even if they do know where it is, finding it when you've got something in your eye can be difficult. And so do people go through drills, or what's ideal if you could wave your magic wand?
You know, in a perfect world, maybe we take a meeting, whether it's a startup meeting at the beginning of the day, maybe our monthly safety meeting, and we team build and we say, all right, we're going to bring you down to the last operatory in the practice. Close your eyes, you get some junk in there, lower your head, see if you can find your way without help to get to this eyewash station. Now, I've done this in my own practices in the past, and people walk into walls. I mean, you want to be holding on to them, of course, but people walk into walls, they think they're where they need to be, but they're not.
Yeah.
So we would encourage you, guide them over to it, and then just show them. Lean them over the sink, turn that puppy on, make sure those caps fly off that little rascal, and that it's working properly. So that's the struggle, but it can be achieved by having a nice team building exercise and including it that way.
Makes total sense. I love it. So walk me through a couple more of these numbers. I know we got more to dig into.
Sure. 203 practices or locations, whatever you want to call it, didn't know how to operate the unit. They're not overly complicated. We're not splitting the atom, right? Turn it on, pull the little pin. 55 didn't have any caps in place. So if you imagine, these units are typically in the sterilization area. If that's not covered, that's getting funky, like seriously. And we're not just talking like hard water and that kind of thing. I mean, you've got bioburden, you've got pathogens. So you don't want to stick your eyes in that.
Definitely not.
So you want caps. That's very important. And those caps, when you turn it on, there should be enough pressure in that sink and that faucet to pop those off. A lot of times we see that it's not working properly, and there's about 47 instances where they turn those on and that just wasn't happening. Could be a water pressure issue, maybe the building. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a plumber. I just know what it's supposed to do, and if it's not doing that, we're brown bread.
Real quickly with that, if it is maybe a bigger fix where there's plumbing or maybe just you can't get enough pressure, what are the other options there?
Best thing to do, sell the practice. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want to do that. No, best thing to do is probably see if you've got the valve turned on fully. below the sink. Sometimes people will turn that valve down for whatever reason. I've had some folks that are in an old building where maybe they've had water pressure issues elsewhere, like maybe with toilets and various things. At that point, I'd probably say get a plumber in there to look at it, just to be safe. Sometimes you can have the opposite too, where the water pressure is insane and it's going up and it's popping like ceiling tiles, right? You don't want now you got black mold to worry about. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But so you got to be very careful with those items when you're investigating it. And I should mention those streams, when you turn that on, those streams should be coming up about 3 or 4 inches and crossing over the head of that faucet.
Okay.
They shouldn't be up here. They shouldn't be squirting Sarah in the operatory or anything like that. You should be able to lean over that and it should just come right up into the eyes and not be so much pressure that it's knocking a contact lens out and things like that. So those are things.
Rinsing, not scrubbing.
Exactly. It's interesting. That brings me to another item on here on the list. This one drives me absolutely insane when I see it. 13 of these folks in inspections, they thought a hand sprayer, that little, to get the soap out of your sink or whatever, they thought that was sufficient for an eyewash station.
Yeah, no.
I mean, we all have them on our sinks at home, or and it's good for getting soap out of there, or maybe hard to reach stuff. But it's not going to meet the ANSI standard. Yeah. And that's, it needs to have 10 to 15 minutes of good pressure, good flow. It needs to get both eyes simultaneously. You need to have temperature control, and it needs to be covered. It needs to have that cap.
Yep.
I mean, granted, once a week you can spray it. Yeah, it works. I'm doing my checks. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
And those people are out there. You say, are you doing your weekly checks? Oh, yeah, I'm doing them. Yeah. You have an eyewash station? Oh, I sure do. All right, let's take a look at it. And I see a sprayer.
Yeah.
Like, somewhere we failed. It's time to educate.
Just another opportunity for education.
That's
exactly.
Right. One other one here I wanted to share with you too, and this is something that comes up a lot, that comes down to just straight up safety, is eyewash stations need to be present wherever corrosives are in use. That's a dental office, hands down. That's probably sterilization, maybe a treatment room if it's a huge office. But we'll have folks that don't have a unit, so there's nothing. There's no sprayer, there's no unit, there's not even those little rinse bottles on the back wall or whatever. That's when we get really concerned. Because now, if someone gets something in their eyes, whether it's tartar and stain remover or maybe etch in a composite procedure, what are you doing? That's a serious issue at that point. I mean, you don't come back from that.
And time is of the essence. And so you can't be fiddling around with it in an emergency situation when you're already panicking. You have to have those things in place and tested and understood by all before.
And, I'll share with you, too, the vast majority of OSHA complaints or OSHA citations, that sort of thing, originates with either an employee complaint or maybe an anonymous complaint.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I mean, they're righteous. These are things that need to be investigated or looked at. And if someone felt like, the practice didn't take care of them when they were at this risk, they were exposed to this hazard and they weren't taken care of, 9 times out of 10, they're going to file a complaint. And all complaints get investigated. And as a practice owner or as a doctor, how are you going to explain that I didn't have an eyewash station? I didn't think about it. Maybe I didn't feel like spending the money was worthwhile. We have a perfectly good faucet. You hear all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, as we've talked about in the past, OSHA really only cares about the employee. They want to make sure that they're returning home safely. And although they get a bad name at times because you got to do a bunch of things to check off their list, at its core, most of these items just are really common sense items. If there's a hazard, how can we mitigate against that risk? So
one thing we bump into too, and I should share this because it's important, and sometimes people overlook this, is there's no reason for that unit not to be in place. There's no reason not to be checking it. In any kind of inspection, that inspector's going to look at you like it's just gross negligence at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that's why these numbers on this sheet kind of drive me a little mad, because it's a gimme. It's easy. It's $20, 5 minutes of time versus potential civil lawsuits and dragging your practice through the mud with, showing up on the workplace establishment violations. It's a public record. That's scary.
A wall of shame.
Yeah, let's not go there, please.
Yeah, for sure. And so just walk me through what would an exposure look like? And maybe in this example, let's say that they don't have it in place. Walk me through what's going to happen in the practice, what's going to happen after, and let's just explore that for a minute.
Okay. Let's say you're in the sterilization area and maybe you're cleaning an appliance, something someone wears overnight. You're taking out a solution called tartar and stain remover. You're pouring some of that into a bag. You plop the little appliance in there. You're not wearing the proper PPE, so you don't have your goggles on with glasses with side shields. And a little bit of that drips up into your eye. That's going to burn like the you-know-what. And you're going to instantly not be able to see out of that eye. The other one's going to water like wild. And now you're frantically trying to find that thing. You're probably screaming because it's not going to feel good. Yep. Someone's going to come over. Let's say they have no eye wash station, but they got the sprayer. They're going to jam that thing up in your eyes. And then eventually they're going to get you to probably after 10, 15 minutes to like an urgent care or something. They're going to do their magic with saline and whatever else they need to try and solve that problem or counteract the material. With any luck, you've got yourself an SDS sheet and you know how to utilize that information. Yep. So you're ahead of the ball game. Afterward, that team member, they're probably not coming back to work that day. I would imagine when they get their vision back, they're probably going to be filing that complaint we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens at that point? OSHA is required to respond to any complaint that's filed. Okay. No matter how minuscule or how whatever, they're going to respond. Even if they don't have a standard, they're going to respond to it under the general duties clause, which basically gives them the ability to say, hey, there's a hazard present. Are they trained? Do we have remediation? Do we have items in place to keep this from turning into something bigger? So that's how they're going to investigate it. If it's incredibly serious or incredibly scary, and this is serious, they may very well show up to your office. If you're in a state that has a local emphasis program, like our dear friends in Tennessee, Washington, North Carolina, to name a few, they will come to your office. That's hands down. You will see them.
Okay.
And they're going to investigate with a form, not just your eyewash stuff.
Anything they see.
Oh, yeah. It gets real at that point. I mean, not that this wasn't serious, but now, as my friend and predecessor Lee Slayton used to say, you're letting the camel's nose under the tent flap. I always liked it, stuck with me. But so now they're looking at everything. And we're talking, are your written programs updated? That's your exposure control, emergency action, where's your eyewash, all those items, everything.
$10,000 a pop, $5,000 a pop. This is getting not only serious, but costly very quickly.
Yeah, and a lot of folks, and this is just, it's kind of well known, a lot of folks have a certain level of liability they're willing to take on. An eyewash station is like I said earlier, it's like a $15, $20 thing, 5 minutes. Yep. That's not liability you need to take on. I mean, that's just foolish.
Exactly.
I understand, like when you get into HIPAA, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in another one of our chats. There's certain liabilities that you do the best you can with what you have, and that makes sense. But this is not one of those instances. If we're talking about all those fines and all those situations that can arise, after all that comes out in the wash, maybe you've resolved some of the problems. Now you're in that civil territory. Like, what if they've lost their vision in their eye? That's affected their livelihood, their ability to work. Like, you're talking disability, you're talking a lot of different things that could have easily been avoided. No courtroom, no panel of jurors are going to look at that and say, oh, no, the practice owner was okay. They had a sprayer. It's not going to happen.
No, of course not. Well, and I just want to bring it back here at the end is that not only is it about avoiding those fines, avoiding those lawsuits, in most of the practices I've been in, it's a family, especially these smaller practices. It's a close-knit family. And who wants to be responsible for one of their family losing their eyesight or impairing their eyesight because of a $20 part in 5 minutes every other week to test? Like, this is a no-brainer, easy to solve. It just, I think we all get so busy taking care of business that sometimes we forget about taking care of our employees. And that's what OSHA was designed to do. And ultimately what we try to help people really focus on is we want to take care of people at the end of the day. So if you want to just have the last word, what's your plea to all those practices out there or anybody that has a similar exposure?
I'm going to quote Maya Angelou on this one. And she said, when you know better, do better. That's pretty much what it is. We'll meet you where you're at, get you the information you need, and now that you know better, please do better for your friends, for your family, for your team, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today, David. We really loved having you and looking forward to having another chat here shortly.
I can't wait.
Until next time, thanks and goodbye.